I was 19 years old when I had gotten saved, and I grew up in a religious home, which was partly good for me and partly bad for me. The reason I say good for me is because my parents brought me up teaching me that there is a Jesus, that there is a God, and there is a Trinity. However, my perception of these three things, these higher powers, were nothing but Sunday morning, Sunday night type of deals. But everything else was, you could do whatever you please, or whatever you do. And so I grew up in a religious home. I grew up with 3 other brothers, and it was at that moment in time there was a lot of issues going on with my parents. They had done their things. My dad was using drugs. He was involved in drugs, and my mom was just working nonstop just to pay the bills. And so it got to the point to where you get to a certain age where you start to realize, you start to see, all these different things that kids should not see when they're growing up, especially people that look up to their father, or they look up to their dad to want to be something. When my dad was selling dope, he had multiple people in and out, and I think just throughout that transition of me experiencing all of this, me finding pipes, seeing him passed out, seeing him one time coming home to a noose hanging in the garage. And so being exposed to this at such a young age opened so many doors, if you will, for so many things to come in and influence me. So mentally, my mind was just very unstable. And so I looked to music. That was my escape at that time. And the people that I listened to were people like, these rap singers or these rap artists, and all these different artists that have a lot of money, they had a lot of material things. And so what had happened is I kind of developed like, this is like what a man is supposed to have. A man's supposed to have these things. A man's supposed to get these things. And so as I grew up, going into middle school and into high school, in and out of relationships, going into high school, my mom and dad had split up. My mom kicked my dad out, and he left. And so she had no authority whatsoever over what we did as kids. So we would just do whatever we wanted. We came home whenever we wanted. She didn't really say anything to us. With that going on in my life, having the freedom to do whatever I thought was gonna bring me pleasure, it led me deeper into drugs. So I had a buddy of mine that I went to school with since kindergarten, and we grew up together. When I came back from up north, and I found myself in this place of confusion, just really contemplating my life. He had came to me. He came to my house, and I haven't seen him in a while. And last time I saw him, we were drinking, and so he came over. I haven't seen him in a couple weeks, and he starts telling me about Jesus. And at that point, I'm like, I don't want to hear about Jesus because I already have Jesus. This is what I said. I already have Jesus. I go to church on Sundays, and I'm good with all that because I know who I'm loyal to. I know what religion I'm loyal to. That was my biggest thing. And so he came by, and I still had friends over. We still had friends over, and he'd come by, and we'd all be drinking, and he'd be telling my friends, our mutual friends, about Jesus. And I can remember that after he would leave, people would be like, why are you inviting him, dude? He just talks about Jesus all the time. Why are you inviting him? And I'm like, dude, this is a homie, dude. Chill out, So as time went on, I remember one instant we went to a party in Apple Valley, and he had came with me. And I already knew what he was about. I was talking about Jesus, which is cool because I didn't have anything against Jesus. And so he came to this party, and he got into this debate, I guess, with a friend of ours, a mutual friend. And she was drunk, and he started telling her about, if you're a Christian, why are you drunk? And Jesus doesn't want you to do this. And she started to cry because the conviction, she felt really convicted about what she was doing, and I believe it. And so that was pretty much the last time I talked to him for a while, because at that point he kind of stopped. We kind of just lost connection, and it's probably because he went on his path and I went on my path. Well, we linked up probably maybe later. I'm not sure exactly how long it was, maybe a couple months or so. But I haven't seen him in a while, so he ended up coming over, and it was just me and him, and we were talking. And he invited me to church, and it was a Wednesday, and I said, well, yeah, sure, I think I'll go, you know. He's asked me so many times, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go so this guy can just stop asking me, and I could just go about my business, and he could go do his thing. And so I went out of courtesy. So I went to this church, and this preacher was there, this speaker, and he was talking, I'm sure about Jesus, but I could honestly tell you that I wasn't paying attention. It was not really of an interest to me. And they did this thing called an altar call. And after service, I put my head down, and just the way he was talking about a relationship with Jesus. And so I lifted my hand and I said this prayer, the sinner's prayer, and I gave my life to Jesus that moment. There was a brother there who prayed for me, and he told me that Jesus loves me. And at that point, those words, Jesus loves me, or Jesus loves you, was deep to me, because it was so hard for me to find love in the world. And the fact that I can just come and find the love of Jesus here at a church service was just amazing to me. And at that moment, nothing was the same. Everything was completely different. My name is Randy, and I go to the Lighthouse Church in Hesperia.